So South Park just released the first episode of their new season and wow. The episode is titled Sermon on the Mount, which already has a double meaning. The Sermon on the Mount is the speech Jesus made on top of the mountain, which sets up Jesus' return in the episode. But the apostrophe before Mount is a reference to Paramount Plus, which is relevant because of all the legal drama South Park has been in recently. Anyway, this episode, like most South Park episodes, has an A plot and a B plot. The A plot follows the town's fight against President Trump and how Christianity is being endorsed by the school. This is the plot that most people will be talking about, mainly because of the Trump parody, which, although I was expecting some commentary on the president, I did not think that an actual Trump character would be introduced on the show. And I don't think a single South Park fan saw this coming. Now, even though the A plot is what got people talking, the B plot is also political commentary. It's a Carmen and Butter storyline, which usually means magic, and this storyline might have been my favorite part of the episode. Now in this video, I'm going to do a full breakdown of the episode, and I'll talk a little up after the breakdown about just how significant this episode is. Let's get into it. The episode starts with Cartman waking up in the morning, and as he gets ready, he goes to put on his favorite radio show, NPR, which he likes because he finds it funny to hear liberals complain about stuff. Now, for an episode where Cartman is, in his own unique way, almost fighting for social justice, NPR being his favorite show because of whiny liberals feels, well, so Cartman. Anyways, Cartman comes to find out that the president has cancelled NPR, which he's obviously pretty mad about as he complains about the cancellation for the whole morning. He says to Butters that everyone's given up before a mandatory assembly is called. It starts the same as any average PC principal speech, him yelling at the students to be quiet, being angry at what's going on in the country. So far, so PC. It all gets a bit weird though when he says that the one thing that can bring some normality back to these corrupt times is Jesus Christ. He goes off on a whole rant about the country rejecting God and how Christianity will be the salvation to the world's problems, shocking the students, especially Cartman. He then unveils an unexpected, ambitious, crazy new name for himself, which is Power Christian Principle, but we can call him PC Principle. Wild. Anyway, he welcomes a special guest to the mic, Jesus. Honestly, this was a great character return, as we hadn't seen Jesus in South Park since the vaccination special in 2021, and we hadn't seen him in an actual speaking role since Christmas Snow all the way back into season 23. It's genuinely great to see him back in the show, after a long time in the way. Jesus gives an average generic Jesus speech, and the boys are left in shock. Now skip forward a little to Butters walking through the hallway at school, where Jesus is just standing in a Jesus pose like he's a statue. This really cracked me up for some reason. I was just standing there smiling with the pose and all the kids are just going about their day. Anyway, Cartman startles Butters, and you can tell that the poor little fat ass is just stressed out. He says that he knows what's going on and why everything has been different lately. And let me tell you, the three words he says are the three words I'd least expect to hear out of Cartman's mouth. I was expecting him to say something like, "It's all because of cow," or "trans people have gone too far." But no, he says, "Woke is dead." He runs through how anyone can get away with anything these days, and then he says something that might shape his entire character this season. "It's terrible because now I don't know what I'm supposed to do," before walking away sadly. Cartman is worried that because no one cares about PC-ness anymore, no one will care about him saying politically incorrect things. See, Cartman doesn't believe half of the messed up stuff he says. He just does it to get a reaction, to piss people off. And if he can't do that, he doesn't know what he can do. I love the storyline aspect from Cartman, and I really hope they keep focusing on this throughout the season. Cut forward a bit to Cartman leaving his house wearing a black and white "Woke is Dead" shirt. I don't know why, but this gave me strong vibes of his Tokens Life Matters shirt way back in the criminally underrated season 20. Yeah, I said it. Season 20 is not bad. Come at me in the comments, keyboard warriors. Actually, please come at me in the comments. This is my first video on the channel, and all engagement helps. Thank you, bye. He walks sadly through the town, sighing when he sees public restrooms marked as boys only and girls only. And Butters meets him at the park bench, where Eric laments that he used to be special, but they took that away. Again, talking about the fact that if no one cares, he doesn't get a reaction. He says to Butters that this is the end, and there's only one solution. He's gonna kill himself, and he's gonna kill Butters in a suicide pact. Butters tries to convince him that Woke is still alive, but Cartman says that if Woke isn't back by Tuesday, he'll kill them both. I really liked this scene. Now, the end of the Cartman Butters storyline comes when Linda tells Butters that it's Tuesday, and Cartman wants Butters to come downstairs, where he's in the garage playing with the hose in the car. Yay! Fun! Now, Butters gets to the car, and after a little fighting, he agrees to end it there, as they start inhaling the hose fumes. There's a couple short scenes showing Butters and Cartman in the car waiting to die, but obviously it's not working. And that's the B-plot in this episode. Now, I really liked this, but I know nobody really cares. Let's get into what you all want to talk about. The Trump Jesus storyline branches off from the B-plot after the assembly, with the Marshes eating dinner. Stan tells his parents that Jesus was in his school, which confuses and annoys Randy. Cut to Randy lying in bed talking to his chat GPT about if schools can endorse religions, and this goes on for almost a full minute before we zoom out to see Sharon looking pissed off. Skip past the Cartman monologue to Skeeter's wine bar, where the town is mad about the government pushing Christianity onto the country, and the president not doing much of anything except suing people, making arrests, and putting money into his own pocket. This town discussion ends the way most do in South Park. All the adults forming a mob against someone. In this case, Garrison, as they still think he's the president. The town breaks down Garrison's door to find probably the most welcome sight we could have hoped for. Garrison is just being a normal person, watching White Lotus with Rick, who is his boyfriend from the last episode of season 26. They confront him about the government before it's revealed that he hasn't been to the White House in years, effectively killing off Garrison Trump for good. Hallelujah. But if he's here, who's in the White House? We get the official reveal of Donald Trump, the character, who is the exact same voice and mannerisms of a certain former president of Iraq. Now, I fully expected it to just be Saddam wearing a wig, but what we got might actually be better. We got Trump. Oh my god. Oh my god. Now, Trump is meeting with the President of Canada, where he threatens to bomb the Great White North, telling the President to relax, guy. We then get Trump walking through the hallway singing to himself before he sees the nude portrait of himself an artist has been making. He gets angry about the size of his manhood in the portrait, even though it's the size it is in the photo. Don't worry, Trump's phallus will appear many more times in this episode. He threatens to sue the painter before he goes into his bedroom, and who could be sitting in his bed? A character we haven't seen since he was killed off by a man-bear pig and nobody got cereal way back in season 22, almost 7 years ago. One of the biggest heroes in the show's history, gay icon, and singer of the best song in Bigger and Longer and Uncut You Heard Me. In the very, very black corner, wearing very, very black trunks, the king of all that is evil, Beelzebub. We got the return of Satan. I'm genuinely so happy about that. Now, Trump tries to seduce Satan, but Satan is having none of it, saying that all Trump does is do stupid memes and mess around. And after Trump exposes himself to Satan, Satan says, "I can't even see anything, it's so small." Trump slaps him and threatens to sue him. Now, after the bench scene, Stan and Jesus are in PC Principal's office, where Stan is in trouble for bullying Jesus by not letting him sit at Stan's table at lunchtime. Then Stan asks PC Principal what happened to the wokeness. PZ Principal says that the side he was on was hopeless, and in times of hopelessness, one finds Christ. PZ Principal says that if Stan doesn't accept Christ, he will expel him from the school. Well, which isn't illegal because it's 2025 and not much is illegal. Stan accepts Christ into his heart, classroom, and lunch table. We then see Trump at a MAGA party getting jiggy with it while drinking his Diet Coke and eating his Big Macs. Party animal, rock on! After he enters the White House, he gets put on a call with the angry South Park residents, where he tells them to relax and take a rest before suing the town for $5 billion. He tries to seduce Satan again before Satan confronts him about the Epstein list. Satan says he reminds him of this other guy he used to date, a lot. They're exactly alike. I'm curious where they're going to go with this, whether they're going to reveal Trump as Saddam in disguise or just do something else and making him his own character. So after Butters agrees to die with Cartman, we get a 60-minute segment on the town protests against Trump, where the hosts are terrified to say anything bad about him. Jesus then flies in, where he gives out bread and delivers the Sermon on the Mount that the episode is named for. But instead of a rousing speech, he gives a paranoid, through-the-teeth warning to the residents to not be stupid. He says he never wanted to come back to the school, but it was part of a lawsuit and the deal with Paramount. Yes, they actually name-drop Paramount in this episode. He asks if they saw what happened on CBS and if they want to end up like Colbert, which was a great line. He says that Trump can do anything he wants to anyone, and that they should just shut up if they don't want to be canceled. Gerald then manages to settle the lawsuit down to $3.5 million, which they do find fair, but that isn't all. They also have to create pro-Trump messaging, which they agree to make, leading to the greatest fake ad in the history of the show. Better than anything in the Streaming Wars Part 2, better than the Chim Pokemon ad, better than any other fake ad. This is the pro-Trump ad on how he survived the desert, ending with his rod endorsing the message, and the final tagline being, his is teeny tiny, but his love for us is large. After one last Cartman and Butter scene, the episode ends, and what an episode it was. Sure, if you don't want to know what makes this important, you might dismiss it as overly juvenile humor, even for South Park. So why don't I tell you why this all mattered? If you haven't been living under a rock, you've probably heard about the legal disputes surrounding South Park, HBO, and Paramount Plus. For short context, South Park signed an exclusive streaming deal with HBO Max for 5 years in 2019. But in 2021, they signed a deal with Paramount for 2 exclusive hour-long specials a year and exclusive streaming rights after the deal with Max had ended. Now, HBO wasn't too happy that another streaming service had South Park content, and that the specials being made caused the show itself to have shorter seasons, which meant they got less content for their service, so they sued Paramount for millions of dollars. Now, this all coincided with Paramount merging with Skydance, which delayed season 27 by 2 weeks. Matt and Trey would say in a press release, "This merger show, and it's South Park. We are at the studio recording on new episodes, and we hope the fans get to see them somehow." Skydance started messing with South Park's deal with Paramount and started meddling with their negotiations with other companies. Now, Matt and Trey got angry about this and threatened to sue Paramount. South Park disappeared off the service outside of the US, and we didn't know if we were even going to get more content. Now, where does Trump come into all this? Well, in October, Donald Trump sued Paramount regarding an interview they aired on 60 Minutes with former Vice President Kamala Harris. Because Paramount's merger with Skydance had to be approved by the FCC, Trump could have prevented the merger from happening until they caved. Because of that, Paramount gave in and settled with the president for $16 million. In completely unrelated news, Stephen Colbert's Late Show, which had criticized and ridiculed President Trump quite a lot, was cancelled by CBS, which is owned by Paramount, even though the show had just been renewed through 2026, and was the #1 late-night talk show on TV. Anyway, after the lawsuit settled, South Park signed a new exclusive streaming deal with Paramount Plus for $1.5 billion. It was put back onto the service outside of the US. The first episode of season 27 was announced, and all was right in the world of South Park. Until the first episode aired, you see, Matt and Stone and Trey Parker, who are now billionaires with their show just renewed, decided to celebrate by targeting Trump harder than they ever had before, criticizing Paramount, showing the president as simply a fat guy with a miniature rod with the same mannerisms as a Middle Eastern dictator, all just to get a reaction. South Park rage-baited Trump, ruining his relationship with Paramount and making him look like an idiot. This might be the craziest thing South Park has ever done, spitting in the face of a company that just gave them billions, aggravating one of the most powerful people in the world, and putting their own show in danger just to get revenge on the streaming service that fought so hard to get South Park. Matt Stone and Trey Parker are two nefarious, crazy, vengeful bastards, and I love them for it. This might be the funniest, most immature, yet most genius thing they've ever done. Perfect episode. Thanks for watching, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. This is the first video I've ever made for this channel, and hopefully isn't the last. Love you all!